Monday, guys. This is Sharla Kornegay coming live to you guys with another Forever Friends Academy episode. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a wonderful night. Well, let me introduce myself just in case there's someone new on tonight. My name is Sharla Kornegay. I am an author, a recording artist, creative interact coaching, and Forever Friends Academy. And this is my show, Welcome, where we focus on developing relationships that last a lifetime. All right, if you want to check out any of my music on stage, I go by Sharla K. That's Sharla with an S. Definitely Google me or go to your favorite music platform of your choice and definitely peruse my music. Hopefully you find something that, you really like there. So definitely if you hear anything that you like, definitely you know what to do. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that you can get notified when I come back on, and definitely spread the content if you feel like it's something that was applicable or helpful to you tonight. So welcome, 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 welcome. Always glad to be back on talking to you guys. Tonight is Sunday relationship scenario. I used to do these all the time, and I don't know, when I came back for the new year, I just started series. We were just talking about topics that, had different parts to it. So I just never really got back to the Sunday night scenarios. But I definitely think, because we have, especially after we have been talking about mental health and well-being in relationships, and, I definitely talk, at least for me, talking about mental health, you can, it's hard not to get deep and heavy. And so I figured tonight it'd be great to do something light. And that's the one thing I do love about the scenarios, is that I feel like they're kind of lighthearted. So I'm definitely going to present a scenario to you guys tonight. I have a video that I want you guys to look at. It's a very short snippet. And I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this popular show on YouTube, and actually has been so popular that they actually have a Netflix version of the show. I think I checked it out like once, but I couldn't even watch the whole thing. I really am more fond of the one that the original creators on YouTube created. And so when I have time, I'll watch it. But it's called Pop the Balloon or Find Love. And it basically is this show where you have like a lineup. So they'll switch it up. Sometimes it'll be the men that are lining up. Sometimes it'll be women that are lining up. And basically, it's kind of like a speed dating, really, honest. At least that's how I view it, like a speed dating show. It's where the contestant will come out around the corner, and if they like what they see, et cetera, they won't pop the balloon because they want to hear more from them. And the idea is for the people to find their just right match on the show. So the snippet that I want to show you guys is from that show. And basically tonight's Sunday night scenario relationship question is, would you be okay if you were interested in someone, and then either they, I don't know how it's going to go, whether you're the man or the woman, they asked you out on a first date, or you were the one asking them out on the first date? Would you have an issue if they wanted to bring their friend along? And so that's the context behind the video. So I'm going to show you guys the video, and then you guys can let me know what your thoughts are. I was trying to look for the original snippet, and I just could not get back to it. It was a very long video. So I did find someone who took a little clip from that same episode. So I'm going to show it to you guys tonight, and you let me know what your thoughts are on it, and then I'll be right back. Okay? So definitely let me show you the video, and then you guys can, share your thoughts, and then I'll, of course, share mine.
Okay. Any final question between the two of y'all? Just one if you got one. If you don't have one, that's fine too.
You available tonight? You want to go get something to drink or something to eat?
So I am, but I do have my friend with me, so she would be coming with us.
That's negative. Give me the. No, we don't do friends.
Grown ass woman.
That's good. That's cool.
Grown ass woman. Bringing your friend. You crazy?
All right, so Yes, that is the little snippet from the video from Pop the Balloon, right? And so again, the scenario is he was that lineup was a group of men, and she was a part of the women that would come around, ask the questions to find if they found a good match, and she actually matched with him, but near the end, as you saw, he asked her if if she was available tonight to go on a date. And she's like, well, I came here with my friend, so my friend would have to come on the date with us. I'm available if that's not a problem. Of course, you saw his response was it was definitely a problem for him. And now, if you, at least when I looked at it and reading some of the comments underneath, it was split. Some people were like, he was being, a little bit overreacting, and he didn't need to do that. It would have been fine if they'd have went on the date. He could still get to know her while her friend is there. And then others were like, no, she should have definitely, if she was really interested in him, took the time out to go on the date, get to know him, and etc. So let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are on that scenario. It made me think of, and I don't think all the way that this applies to this, but I hear often, especially when it comes to a lot of men, they often sometimes will say that a woman's friends keep her single. And that, seeing that scene in that scenario, definitely made me think of that. So I don't know, I don't think it completely, at least when they're saying it, that it completely applies to that. I think they're thinking more so, at least the ones that I have spoken to who have stated that, and where we've been able to have, dive a little bit deeper into the conversation. I've heard that they feel like, okay, women kind of talk to each other, they vent to each other, and what she says to her friend, can kind of influence her to believe certain things that aren't necessarily true or going on in the relationship, or maybe set her up to have unrealistic expectations in the relationships that basically sets the relationship up for failure. And then she's more loyal to the friend, or believing of the friend rather than trying to work things out and communicate with her partner. So I've heard it in that context, but nonetheless, I definitely still thought of it, because she was like, well, I came here with my friend. She traveled here with me, and so she would have to go on the date too. And I'm just like, wow, that's very interesting, So let me know what your thoughts are on it. And as you can see, I've tried to be a little bit better with the code. You guys can come on with me, and if you don't feel like typing the QRC code, that is to, I would say, probably be on my left, but you're right, I think. However you, bottom of the screen. How about that? You can scan the QR code and come on and have a conversation with me if you don't feel like typing, which I totally understand, because if you are like me and you type slow, yeah, you might not want to do that. So definitely, you can just scan that QRC code and join me screen to screen, all right? To have, let me know your thoughts one-on-one in regards to the scenario, all right? So I'll keep it up for you guys a little bit as I give you my feedback and my thoughts on this particular scenario. So, I'm a fan of always saying that whenever you're trying to process through something, that communication is never void of context, right? Like putting certain things in the proper context matters, right? Because you can do similar things, and it be in different scenarios and have different contexts. And in one scenario, it will be the complete right thing to do, and in another scenario, because of the context, it will be actually just the just right thing to do, right? And so I think particularly in this context, why this situation happened as it occurred, I think number one, this show, I don't know, I don't remember. I did see the episode, but I don't remember where she traveled from, because a lot of them, the show has be gotten so big basically that people fly from all over. Like a lot of the people are from California. I think the show is based in Phoenix, I believe, Arizona, but so many people travel from all over the world, from East Coast, West Coast, all over, to find it. And you actually have to put in your application. They vet the people. And they have to travel. I don't know if the producers of the show are paying them to travel or they are having to put the money up for traveling and things like that. But with all of that being said, I think the aim, if someone is going now, everybody has their different reasons, because I can definitely, if you're on a show that is viral and things like that, I've seen people come on there and definitely, put blurps out of their businesses and things like that. So everybody has their different intentions. But if you are genuinely coming on the show to find someone who you think is a match for you, and you're going to travel and you're going to take time out of whether it's your work schedule, etc., to go on the show and try to meet someone, and find love, I definitely would not have, if she really felt like he was a good match, would not have said that, I'm going to go. The only way that I can go is if my friend goes with me, because that's the main, I would think, the main reason why you go on that show. And especially, like I said, if you're traveling, if you're investing your time, your money, and your energy, and this is your real intention to find it, find someone or find love, and this friend comes along with you, knowing as well, right, that this is your aim and your intention, I don't think that friend would have an issue with you actually having success with what your intention was, and actually connecting with someone. I'm thinking as well, because I've traveled before and traveled with friends, and you can have the be in the same hotel room, and of course, if it's different context. If we are planning a trip together and we're going out, and this is not me going on a show with the intention to find love, that's a different thing, right? We're gonna hang out, etc., together. But if we are coming together and this is something that's going to be the primary thing that I'm going to do, I I I I would have a hard time not believing that friend wouldn't understand that. Okay, wow, yeah, I found a match. He actually asked me out to get to know me better. We're gonna go out tonight. At least I would be a friend that would be like, that's awesome, that's incredible. Definitely, if you feel, secure, safe, go. Maybe pick maybe a very a place that's occupied by a lot of people that is well lit. Even if you want me to be around the corner, you know, or somewhere even in the vicinity, but not like necessarily where you can see me, only for right, for safety precautions and measures. Definitely do that, but not to say, okay, don't go because I came out here with you, and I if you go, we should go together. I just think that's I don't know. I don't think that is a very, it's like rejecting the very thing that you came for. That's how I see it. So that's my thoughts on it. I don't think that was necessarily the most beneficial decision. But like I said, some people go on these shows for maybe just to have a viral moment, maybe to, again, like I said, use the platform to, promote their business and et cetera. So I don't know what her true intentions were. I do remember from that video, they always ask, what do you do? Where are you from? Et cetera. But I don't think I can recall her, because you know the people who come on there, because they usually, when they come to them, they'll say their business over and over and over and over again, and so you kind of get the gist, like, okay, yeah, I guess in their mind they're like, well, I'm gonna promote my business. If I don't find a match, then at least, right, I was able to do that. So understood, I understand that, but I don't recall her doing that. She really, from what I remember on the show, was asking, really good questions to try to figure out, because there's like a lineup usually of like anywhere from 8 to 10, either women or men, and I like watching the show sometimes when I get a chance because of the questions that they ask. I think they're I don't know if the producers give them the questions, etc. But the questions that they ask are, good questions that you would want to get to know someone. And so I remember her asking a lot of good questions. So I can't imagine that, at the end when she finds someone that she thinks is a good match for her to be like, well, no, I can't, unless my friend comes. So that's my thoughts on it. I'm because of the context of the show, the fact that, like I said, you're traveling that far to find, your perfect match or someone that you want to, hopefully build a future with, to say, no, I can't do this unless my friend is here. I don't, and I get it. And I guess I get it in this way that, you have a friend. And there was another episode that I watched, and there was a gentleman. And now this gentleman, he was, in my opinion, just a little bit, team too much, meaning like a lot of the ladies basically turned him down, which a lot of the ladies do on that show now that I think of it, turn a lot of the men down if they are not, 6 feet, you know, or taller and things like that. So going on a show like that, you'll have some superficial, and I don't want to, people have their preferences, so I understand that. But certain things, it's not like if you see someone who is tall is going to be indicator that that person has good character or they're going to treat you well. So I mean it in that way, right? So off the bat, this guy, he was under 6 feet, and I think he was about maybe I can't remember how tall he said he was. I think it was somewhere around 5'8", 5'9". However, as soon as he turned the corner, the balloons went popping because he wasn't as tall as they preferred. And so I guess he took it not in the greatest way, but he he was calling out the women for what he called, quote unquote, was followers following each other, and you'd rather be a girl's girl than do something different than what is commonly said. And I remember on the episode, a lot of the people in the comments, especially the women, were like, "Oh, he's shaming them for being a girl, for the women being a girl's girl." Like, because sometimes that'll happen, right? You'll find a guy treating, as they're listening, because you're literally on a lineup and they're listening to how the person engage, right, with the other people on the lineup. And sometimes if it's not a good engagement, then the other girls will just pop their balloon. Like, I saw how you talk to her, and I didn't like it, And so he was saying, don't do that, let it be how I speak to you, because you're a different person. So I might speak to her in this way because maybe her and my chemistry, we're not a match, but maybe you and I are. But they didn't want to hear him. But I do think that sometimes that does come into play, because you want to make sure that you can, like, assess and at least, I guess, in my opinion, right? You guys can let me know what your thoughts are. I do think that sometimes when people are around their friends, unless there are certain people who are like very much like are who they are throughout, but many times I have definitely seen people get around certain people that are their friends, especially if they're friends of theirs that are like maybe from like school days, and if that person is growing in a certain way or has grown and developed in a certain way that's different from what the people who they grew up with, the who they are now is different a version. I will literally see them come around those people and then act completely different. I remember Ben and we went on like I don't know, maybe like triple, quadruple date. It was like maybe like 4 couples on it. And I remember one of the couples, that we were with, and they were the main ones that kind of you know constructed, right, what we were going to do that night and things like that. And one of their friends were old friends, very I think they were friends for at least more than 15 plus years. And it was amazing to see that that person basically act very different from what we were normally used to seeing how they act, because they have this, very old school friend of theirs, and they kind of just like immediately went into a certain, past version of themselves. So I can understand that, so I just think if you're going to invest all that, and maybe it wasn't that much of an investment for her. Like I said, maybe it was something that where it was like, okay, hop, skip, and a jump, and it didn't necessarily. But I think beyond that, don't waste someone's time. Don't if you feel like you are coming on a show intentionally to find love, and your friend was nice enough to come with you. If you are successful at that, then let's follow all the way through with it. So I didn't look at him as him popping the balloon and saying no, that's a no go for me, because I'm here asking you out to make sure that I want to take time out to really get to know you, and you're telling me I can't get to know you unless your friend comes along. I just think, I think he had a valid point, and I think if I was her friend and she came back to me, I would say, "Man, you missed the ball," because I would have definitely understood that I would have loved for you to go on, and especially if I'm coming with you as a friend to support you in this endeavor, that I would have loved for you to go out and then as a friend hear how it went, and, and celebrate you in that way. Hey, Artist Q, how are you? I don't know if you're still on here. Thank you for popping in. Tonight we are talking about a scenario that I put out, and basically the question that I put out tonight to everyone is, if you ask someone out on a date or someone asked you out on a date, it's the first date, would you, I guess, them bringing their friend along, is that welcomed, or is that a deal breaker? And maybe someone on here is thinking differently from me. Maybe you're a person that says, no, I think, if they bring their friend along, maybe it's going to show me more of who they are rather than, right? Maybe you're a person who feels like it would support that. I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are. I think, you guys know my opinion. I gave it to you. I think it's the opposite. I think definitely holding that space to where people can see how they gel, and not have anyone else necessarily there, because energy is energy, man. Like I've said many times. I remember when Ben and I, we were developing our friendship all the way up until we we're talking marriage and things like that. And I remember he always said, when we get married, I want to marry you, but I want to have a place for you to stay. I want to provide a home for you. And I remember in the beginning stages, I was just like, oh, it's okay. I'm fine with like being in an apartment. Like I'm not a person who is very materialistic. That's the best way I could put it. I'm not, the things that really matter to me are the matters of the heart, and the condition of someone's heart, the nature of their character, the consistency, of how they handle their responsibilities, and how much of a good steward they are over the things God has given them, right? Responsibility to be over. And so other than that, everything else is like icing on the cake. So in that way, I was like, we can definitely, I love you, good character. We can grow together and develop. We don't have to start right there, to get married, be in a home, our own home. And he was like, focused. And I remember when we did, I don't know, now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, why did we do that? But because we planned our wedding and bought our home in the same year. And literally closed on our home 2 weeks before our wedding. So, lots of planning. But anyway, when we had the opportunity to go in our home, oh my goodness, it's like I did not understand how precious it was to have our own space and how different that also would be even if we, the difference from like having your own home versus being an apartment, right? Because, if you're an apartment or even like adjacent condos and things like that, which you can also own, right? But you have all these things, all different people in those different apartments going through many different things in life. And you can, kind of feel, even though that's your own space, because there's so much going on, it's a different feeling from, especially for us where we bought our home. It's not, the houses aren't like right, like next to each other, especially a lot of more houses have been developed now, but when we first bought it, so it just felt like, oh my gosh, it was just our own space. And for us, we were, so young, we went completely straight from our parents' home into our own home, and so I bring that up to say that it was such a gift and a precious experience to just be able to like identify it's just my energy and his energy, and having that space. And we had that space for about a good 2 years to where it was just what the environment, like what both of our natures, what both of our character, what the environment it was creating, and we were able to see whether it was creating a peaceful environment that we can grow in, outside of when you have other people's energy, other people, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's once you throw another person in the mix, it does change it up, So that's why I say what in what I believe. In regards to this scenario. Hey Emily, how are you? So tonight, basically, we are talking about first dates, and would you have a problem with if someone asked you out or you asked someone out? Would you have a problem them bringing their friend on the first date? And I basically segued into having this conversation by playing a little short snippet of a video. And the video basically had the scenario in it. The people are on a dating show and they matched. The gentleman asked the young woman if he could take her out that night. She traveled with a friend. She said, I have no problem going out with you. However, my friend would have to come along. In the dating show, you hold a balloon when you find a match. You pop the balloon if something goes wrong. So when she said that, he immediately popped his balloon because he did not want her friend to come along on the date with them. So that is what we're talking about tonight. Do you think, no, the guy was a complete jerk for popping the balloon? It would have been fine if they all three just went on the date together. Or do you think, man, this young woman came on this dating show and really dropped the ball because she matched someone, but wouldn't, further want to get to know if they are a true match because she did not want to not have her friend come along. So what are your thoughts? That's what we're talking about. Emily immediately was like, huh? I need to know why they need to bring a friend. Do they think I'm going to hurt them? Oh my gosh. I know, right? That's the first thing. Emily, you're so funny. That's the first thing I thought. Because that's me, right? Like, in as far as if it's safety wise, but I still wouldn't let the friend come on the date. I would just say, like, either, you be somewhere in the restaurant, they won't know, Oh my gosh. Dunya Enterprise Inc., how are you? So we are talking about, is it okay, right? Is it welcomed or is it a deal breaker to bring someone along on a first date, like their friend? All right. And maybe because you guys are on here, the video is so short. I'll play it for you guys so you guys can get the full context of it. It's a really short video, so I'll play it one more time for you guys to see it so that you can like get the full idea of it. Okay, so I'll play it one more time for you guys real quick.
Okay. Any final question between the two of y'all? Just one. Just one if you got one. If you don't have one, that's fine too.
You available tonight? You want to go get something to drink or something to eat?
So I am, but I do have my friend with me, so she would be coming with us.
That's negative. Give me the. No, we don't do friends.
Grown ass woman.
That's good. That's cool.
Grown ass
All
woman.
right.
Bringing your friend.
All right. Yep. So there you go. That's the video. And I was telling people, other participants on the live tonight, the context, the full context of the show is that, it's a very popular show now. And so people actually travel from all over, honestly, to go on the show. And, they try to see if they can find a match or not. And, sometimes I don't know if the producers pay for them to come on or if the other people are actually, paying to come on, so you have whatever you're paying for on your flight. I don't know what, when you travel, you gotta pay for your flight, your food, etc. All of that, right? So in my opinion, I told them that I definitely think that, I wouldn't have said my friend has to go on the date, especially if I was the person's friend, right? And I went to travel with them with knowing that this is their aim and intention to go on this date to see if they find a match. If they're successful at it, then I'm like, yay, mission accomplished. Like what you came to do, we actually you hit the target, right? And let's see where it goes. So, I'd find something to do differently than my friend that night, and then meet up with her at the end of the night and figure out. The only other, I said exactly what Emily said. Well, not exactly what she said. What Emily said was hilarious, but I said the only context that I could kind of wrap my brain around of I still wouldn't say my friend would be coming with me, but I would probably talk to my friend, just us privately if I felt like I wanted to make sure, right, it's a safe scenario. I would probably plant my friend, somewhere in the vicinity of where we are in the restaurant, etc. Right? To if that's the case, to do something like that, but not to where you are outrightly a part of the date there, that's a different scenario. So those are my thoughts on it. So let me know what you guys are. All right. So Emily says, however, if my friend thinks my future man is sketchy, especially if something actually happens, and bonus points if they're a wrestler or at least good at fighting, I might bring them with me. That's a safety context. Yeah, no, I that's hilarious when she said a wrestler. I understand it from that, and I've talked to, whether it be my clients or friends of mine or just casual, conversations. Yeah, there are different things that you can do when you're putting in a safety context, but I don't think outrightly to say, I can, no, I'm not going to go on a date with you unless my friend can come as well. I think there's a more, and maybe she meant it. I don't know. Maybe that's what she was feeling in the moment. And so that's what she just immediately said, because it's like, I don't know you. We just met. And you want me to take you out, or you want to take me out and I don't know you. So maybe she meant it in that way. I guess I understand it in that way, but like I said, you want to be kind of stealth with it, so that you can kind of like, okay, yeah, I can get to know you. And then, like I said, I would definitely just plant my friend there. And of course, move with precaution and make sure the places that we're going is not an intimate, place. It's a public place where there's lots of people, nicely lit. Definitely but that's something that I think definitely as a woman, especially a woman dating scene, those are things you have to think about normatively anyway. So possibly maybe that's what she was thinking, and in the moment, not necessarily knowing how to quickly kind of like figure out how she could do that in the best way to make sure she was safe. Maybe that's why she said that. So I don't know. Emily said, yeah, honestly, you have to take at least a few days to talk. Oh, okay. So you basically are saying you're like, you understand, for her saying like, okay, yeah, no, I'm going to have my friend come with me. I get what you're saying. She's like, no, I'm not going to go out with you. Because I don't know you, and I get that, I understand, I guess I was just thinking more of like, I could have a conversation with my friend and make sure again that that's happening without him knowing that that's happening, so that he can still feel like he is, getting to know me one-on-one. And I think also the reason why I said I don't think he was being, because some people also thought that he was being, kind of like red flag. It's good for her that he did that because he's overreacting, or with not being able to understand that, because of the, like I said, the context of it, that some of these people fly out to be on this show to meet their just right match. So I'm just like, if you're gonna do all of that, if you're gonna do all of that, and the aim is to truly find someone and then say no, when he asks us to like take you out to get to know you and things like that, because I do think, from my understanding, that when they do match, they do go in the back, and there's like I think a lounge area where they get to know each other, and I guess for him, he wanted to make sure, which I have seen other couples, even couples, and I think one of the main reasons why this show became so popular, and again, it's called Pop the Balloon or Find Love, and it's because there's a lot of different versions, but to be honest, some of the other versions of that show I think is completely just, for lack of better words, ratchet, But hers, the lady, and I think her name is Arlene Armuti. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's the one that when I have time, I usually tune into. I'm trying to find her name for you guys to make sure I'm saying it in the right way. Let me see. To give it to you. Yeah, I think it's Arlene Armuti. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right though, but I think it's the most popular one, honestly, on YouTube. But I was saying, I think it became. I mean, it's an interesting. I like social experiments, so that's why That's what drew me to it. But there are a couple of couples and one who I know got engaged and married from that show, and then a lot of other couples who actually truly matched, right? And so that went on to have, right, develop, relationships that are still lasting. So I think a lot of people are kind of, flocking to it for that reason, as well as the many viral moments, the hilarious, funny moments that occur from the show. And so putting that into context, there are couples who, talk to each other in lounge and then actually went on, right, literally dates that night. So I think that's why, that gentleman said that. So just the fact of that context, that's what I'm like, if you're going to do all of that, why say, no, not unless, my friend can come along and things like that. But definitely understand the safety aspect of it. Emily says, what if the friend disguise? Now you're thinking like me, Emily. What if the friend disguises themselves, and if something actually happens, they can step in? Yeah, there you go, Emily. That's without even being here. You said exactly what I said. Yeah, that's what, That's what I would have done, because like I said, I think what the things that you're bringing up, the things that I've talked about, especially for women, those are things that we have to, when you're a woman that's dating and things like that, those are things you have to think about all the time, no matter what, right? So having things like that, but that he doesn't have to know that, right? She can literally tell her friend, and have her friend literally be in the restaurant if something happens, or be somewhere close in the vicinity and things like that. Of course, if something happens, but she can still, right, feel comfortable and safe that way, and still have an authentic opportunity to connect with him, just him and her, and how their energies mix together, without, you know, an extra added friend there, which is important to have. So yeah, that's what I said, Emily. That's what I would have done, especially if I flew. Some of these people take flights, literally, to come on the show. And like I said, it's an app. Well, maybe you weren't here when I said it, but I said in the beginning that they actually have to put in applications to the producers, and they vet them, and then they come on the show and things like that. So to do all of that, to say, and I was saying earlier on that I've spoken to different men who they'll say that, I've seen so many women, that I feel would be good, potential suitors, or to be in a relationship with them, but they say their friends are keeping them single. They literally say that, for reasons that are similar to kind of like this scenario. It's either that, like this scenario, or the fact that their friends heavily influence them, and how they kind of influence how they show up in the relationship, or the things that they believe, or maybe they set them up to have unrealistic expectations, or things like of that nature. So I think definitely in this scenario that can apply for sure, so again, but I think what you're saying, I definitely agree with you, Emily, because that's what I said. That's exactly what I said. That's what I would have done. I wouldn't have let that person know it, but I could have definitely set up something where my friend could have been in the space, just in case something happens, or yeah, absolutely. But to say, to go all the way to that show and then say no, only if my friend comes along, But it could have been something like that where, because it is in the moment, right? And you're on TV, and I'm sure, because I've seen a lot of the contestants on. It feels kind of weird calling them contestants, right, on a dating show. I'll say participants on the show, where they're nervous, because a lot of people are gonna see it. Look, I just played a snippet from it, So maybe she was nervous in the moment, and that was the best thing she could think of to say in the moment, thinking maybe in the same way that you and I are thinking in as far as safety. So maybe, but I always, tell my clients, always talk to, family members, close friends. Certain ways that they can set, especially if they're women, right? I always say definitely go on coffee dates. Don't if to first to get to know someone, do a coffee date, or an activity, something that you can really get to know someone, because sometimes the restaurant and dinner dates, even though that's not what it's about, sometimes it automatically, it's intimate, so then it automatically, you know what I mean? But if we're really, really honest, you know, you have people who definitely, if you go on like TikTok and other social platforms, you will have women telling other women that, don't go on a date with, this gentleman or this man unless he's going to take you to a certain type of restaurant, right? Because they are telling them like the opposite, that if he just wants to take you for coffee, then he doesn't want to invest, in you properly, and all kind of crazy, just craziness, And I was talking to someone that's close to me, and we were talking about that same, kind of like what's going on in culture right now, what they're saying. And I was telling her that no, I can definitely tell you that there are men who are throwing that out to women, like a coffee date, just to see if they'll take it, just as a tool to vet the ones that are superficially driven, and the ones that don't necessarily want to do something where, it's just us getting to know each other and there's nothing else. And I say it probably would be good, when you're that type of woman that says, yeah, let's go on a coffee date. Because then I can truly get to know you, right? And I'm not just using you for a free meal. Because I will be honest, I have talked to, plenty of women who do that. They use the dates for free meals, and that's just wasting someone's time, that's wasting somebody's time and investment of energy and finances. So I can totally understand if I was of the opposite sex and I was a man, I would definitely be using that. I would be like, okay, let's have coffee to see which ones would be like, oh no, no, you know what I mean? Who really wants to get to know me versus use me for something, or see if I can take them to a certain type of level of restaurant to see if that, is them being able to see where my status is or something like that. So absolutely, Amelia, I totally understand. Emily says it could have been crazier. I saw someone reject someone because she got hair on her arms. Very true. Very true. That show can get crazy, and there are a lot of sometimes superficial things that definitely that I have heard on that show. So you're right. It could have been crazier for sure, and I get it because it is, I mean, you have what, only like a few minutes to really get to know the people on there and see if they're matched for you. So there are a lot of physical, like very silly things that they'll use, to reject somebody. So that's true, you know. So that's true. But I think at the if outside the context of the show, I think just in general though, wanting to bring someone on a first date with you, I don't think it's the best, because I think you do want to get to know the person, unless it's something like, it's a group of you guys, you hang out or something like that. And, but I don't know, because I'm trying to think, like when Ben and I were hanging out and we were friends, it was a group of us that would hang out. And then, I don't know, it just every time, you know, everyone would kind of disperse and then we would be left alone together. And then we would, just continue talking and continuing to get to know each other. I think you need to really know how you and the person connect by yourselves, like together, outside of other people. I think that was one of the main first signs and signals to both Ben and I when we realized, why every time, and it would be a group of us, it'll be at least 4 or 5, yeah, 4 or 5, maybe sometimes 6 of us in the group where we hung out really like tough with each other a lot. And I'm telling you, like time and time again, somehow, and it wouldn't be us trying to, make that happen. It would just naturally happen. And the most interesting thing too is as each person kind of like went their own way, you would kind of feel, if you can, right? Not many of us can kind of tell sometimes the shifts that occur when you take one person's energy out of, right, an environment. But if you are a person who kind of reflects a lot or is in tune, and sometimes some people's energy is that strong, some people they have very dominant energy, and their energy is very prominent. It could be on the negative side or positive side. I don't know if you guys have experienced people like this in your family or friends. You have the positive friend that, like, when she comes, it's like, or he comes, you just feel the energy. I remember my my mother-in-law, she was like that. Like, every time she'd come to the house, everyone in the family would say, like, it would feel like angels were coming with her, because she just came with her presence just resonated joy, like joy and laughter and goodness. And then there were other people, other family members, other friends that it was the complete opposite, right? Where, like, their energy was, a lot of turmoil. You would feel it, So with all of that being said, I think, again, you need that time to see when everything else is has, all of the different energies has dispersed, and it's just you and that individual. How do your energy work with each other, right? Does it, when you are together, is it like just a natural peace there? Is there a natural connection there? Is it, where you can feel like your positive energy is also feeding off of their positive energy, or is it the opposite? You need that, So I don't think I would definitely really be for it, Now, again, the things that both Emily and I brought up in the context of safety, there's ways to do that to make sure that you are putting yourself in a safe scenario, you know, and but then you can still authentically, engage with the person without having to. Because I mean, it's hard. I would imagine, like, if you have another friend on the date, you know what I mean? It's hard to kind of like lock in to that person without, you know, wanting, at least for me, I guess maybe I'm that type of friend. Like, I would want to check in to see how you're doing. And you know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know. I think it would be hard to kind of lock in with that person without trying to consider your friend there, and not making them feel out of place or awkward. So, again, but that's my thoughts on it, is that if you're going to go to those great lengths to go on a show to find love and be a match, and you find one that it was of your choosing, by the way, because she was, if you're on the lineup, they all choose, you know what I mean? But it's the person who usually comes around the corner that gets to choose from the lineup that they have. And of course, that person on the line also has to accept them. So she literally, pop as many balloons to get to the guy that she thought was the perfect, or the just right match for her. And then end up, when he asks her out on a date, just say, no, unless my friend comes along, So if it was a case that, like what Emily introduced in safety, any women, who are listening right now, and maybe not necessarily say it like that to him, but you can behind the scenes set up, right, things in place to make sure that safety precautions are, put in place so that you feel comfortable and safe, and you can still get, to know him in the right environment for a first date that does not, an environment that cultivates you connecting with each other for real, that does not have inferences of kind of like, okay, getting too intimate too soon. That's the best way I can explain it, So that's what I would say in regards to that scenario. Yeah. So that was it, folks. I wanted to give you guys something light tonight because we were getting so heavy on talking about mental health and relationships and things like that. So I was like, let's do a nice little light scenario tonight. So I hope you guys thought it was light. I hope you thought it was light, and interesting, hopefully. So I will be back on, God willing, Thursday, guys. Thursday, and I have to figure out what I'm going to present to you then. All right. And definitely, as always, like, comment, and subscribe to my Forever Friends Academy YouTube channel. You'll know whenever I get on, you'll get notified, and you're able to watch all the full episodes there. All right. And hopefully next time I'll get one of you guys to call in and talk to me face to face. All right. But definitely, spread the content if you liked anything you heard tonight. And let me read the last thing I think Emily wrote. She said, and you can have the friend do something out of pocket and then introduce them to them. Or you can have them get you help. Absolutely, for sure. You can definitely do things like that. But, I think, and that's, I think, what I said tonight in regards to you setting that up privately without having the person know, I think that leaves, right, more of an authentic opportunity for if that person is someone who is, just a jerk, right, or someone who doesn't mean well by you. That'll make it come out faster, right, than them know, obviously, that someone is there. And don't get me wrong, maybe someone hears that and says, well, if somebody's right there, they won't ever get out of pocket, right? If your friend is there. I don't think that's true, especially if it's two women, unless we're talking, that would have been a whole nother conversation. I didn't think about that. You guys. Maybe we'll do that next time around. Because I automatically never said the gender of her friend, right? I don't know. I just assumed that it was a girlfriend. Did she say girlfriend in the video? I'll have to watch it back again. Oh my gosh, guys. I'm gonna have to go watch the clip again. I just thought she said my friend is here and I can go with you if my friend can come along. I can't recall now if she said the gender, but that would be a whole nother conversation, right? I think, first of all, if it's a man, I don't know, the men on here, would you be okay with that? Like, she bringing her, a friend that's a male on to the date? Well, maybe that would definitely probably keep the person in check for sure, but I don't know. I'd have to get some men on here. How many men would be like, yeah, sure, bring your male friend along with the first date? I don't think so. So, yeah, that would be a different scenario, but I don't know if that would keep him in check just because her other friend is there, I don't know. And I'm telling you, the friends I had, I immediately thought about some of my friends, and I guess maybe I can loosely call them friends now. But I remember going to college, my first year of college, and, you make new friends when you're there. And I remember they would say certain things like they wouldn't want me to go with them to certain places. And the reason why they started doing that, because we would go out, and then sometimes if the guys would hit on me, and I was already in a relationship with Ben, so they would hit on me and I would say no, and then they wouldn't ask any of the rest of the girls out. And I remember them telling me that once they ask you out, they don't want to ask any of us out, because guys are like that, because they don't, once they pick the one that they want to ask out, she says no, they're not going to now ask, and so I remember they would just start going to places without me because they didn't want that guy to waste his ask on me when, they were single and ready to mingle, as they say, and I didn't really take it like any way, but I guess I can understand it from maybe that point of view, just thinking of it from that point of view. What if you bring another friend, your friend along? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It could get really messy. That's all I can say. Is it can get really messy. Yeah, especially if you're just first trying to get to know someone and then you bring your friend along and yeah, it's a lot. Anyway, we'll have to dive deep in another time. Come on another time and maybe put it in a different context. But I think there's a lot, that can go wrong when it comes to that. So anyway, absolutely love being on with you guys and having this conversation. And I will be back on Thursday. All right. If you're watching the replay, let me know what your thoughts are. Definitely flood my feed. Let me know, say, Sharla, I think you're completely wrong. It was good for her to ask a friend, she dodged a red flag. He would have understood if he was really into her. Or maybe you're a person who agrees with me and says, yeah, she kind of like missed the ball on that. And, she could have went to get to know him. And if it was a safety issue for her, she could have had a separate conversation with her friend and made sure she put things in play to make sure that she was comfortable and safe and still was able to accomplish what she came there to do and see if there was an actual valid, authentic connection to be made with this new gentleman. All right. So as always, guys, always remember to live, to love freely. Until next time, have a good night. Bye.